What would you recommend that we can do? After the meditation, I went out for a walk, and what happened in the meditation, which was this merging of, I would say, consciousness with the sensation of whatever it was that we were exploring, and the seeing, the sensing, the being it one. As soon as I walked out, it all became separate again. Then the trees were there and I was here.
Yes.
What recommendation or guidance could you give us as to how, you said there's no how, but to make that the moment-to-moment reality?
Yes. A meditation like this morning dismantles the believed, and more than just the believed, the felt solidity and density and separation of our experience. It dissolves it, and you had that experience. Now, when the meditation comes to an end and we go off to lunch or go for a walk, we don't remain in that condition. Through force of habit, that there is a returning to the old patterns of thinking and feeling, in this case particularly feeling, but we don't go all the way back. And then we do a similar kind of meditation. Again, there is this dissolution of the sense of solidity, objectivity, otherness, density, particularly in the feeling of the body. The body feels pervaded by the light of awareness. It feels sensitive, light, weightless. But then, sure enough, 2 or 3 hours later, through force of habit, the old feelings have come back again. But again, we don't go all the way back. Something of the old way of feeling and perceiving, not just thinking, but feeling and perceiving. And that's why these yoga meditations are so powerful. They act on our feelings and perceptions, not our thoughts. Something of what we experienced in the meditation is retained. And part of the old way of feeling and perceiving has been dissolved. We never go all the way back again. So each time we come back to these kinds of yoga meditations, we are gradually eroding or erasing old habits of feeling, sensing and perceiving. In our conversations like this evening, we are exposing and eroding patterns of thought. And that is important. But in the meditations, particularly the yoga meditations, we are exposing and erasing old patterns of feeling, sensing and perceiving. And this is where the root of the separate self lies. The separate self doesn't just lie in our beliefs. The deeper and larger aspect of it is in our feelings in the body. And these feelings in the body are immune to non-dual conversation. They require a finer approach. And they are very tenacious. As I said this morning, these feelings have been laid down when the body was still soft and sensitive and open. And they were laid down deeply in the body, layer after layer, particularly early on in our childhood. And they have the separate self has, as it were, solidified in the body. And it's not just a couple of hours of a yoga meditation is not going to dissolve that density. We have to soak there. The image I sometimes use is the image of a kitchen, a tea cloth, that an old kitchen tea cloth that we've washed numerous times in the washing machine, and the washing machine gets 90% of the dirt out, but the wine stains and the tea stains remain. They are immune to Ajax and Persil, and there's another agent is required. So you put the tea towel in a tub of water. You need to leave it soaking in the soapy water. It's this soaking that affects the removal of this last 10%, the wine and the tea stains. So the wine and the tea stains are what seem to be these residues of separation in the body, the tea stains. And it is this soaking in these yoga meditations that is, to my knowledge, in my experience, the most penetrating and the most effective. And as I think I said sometime earlier this week, this approach was implicit in the Vedantic approach. For instance, Ramana Maharshi sat for many hours just in silence with his students. He was doing this, but it was just a soaking in. When I say just a soaking in silence, it's very powerful. There was this soaking in silence, and these feelings gradually come up to the surface, layer upon layer, and they are dissolved. But in this approach, we are a little bit more proactive. As I said this morning, we're not actually doing anything to the body, but we are encouraging these tensions to come out of their hiding places in the body. And we are kind of lovingly teasing them out of their hiding places, and then we are leaving them to soak, or offering them to the transparent space of awareness. So it's a little bit more penetrating. So in answer to your question, I would keep exploring your experience in this way. Keep participating in these yoga meditations, as well as all the other means that we have here. And don't look for immediate results. Don't be disappointed when you go outside in the afternoon and think, oh, the old habits of sensing and perceiving have come back. It takes time. Remember the Zen master on his deathbed. I'm doing fine, but my body is having a hard time keeping up. This was a Zen master at the end of his life. It takes years. This is not the, oh, everything just appears in awareness, there's nobody here and there's nothing to do approach. That doesn't uproot these deep layers of suffering in the body. It plasters them over, it excuses them, but it doesn't give us the deep peace and satisfaction that we seek. So don't look for immediate results. But at the same time, don't feel that you're aiming for something that is going to finally take place. There is no end to this process. The process itself is enjoyable. What could be more enjoyable than this morning's meditation? I mean, it wasn't torture, was it? It wasn't like sitting in a Zen monastery facing the wall in silence. It's enjoyable. Sorry, I didn't mean to disparage you. But that's why they say in the direct path, the path is the goal. In the progressive path, we are treading the path hoping to get to the goal. Do these exercises with a sense of there's nothing to be achieved by them. We are already standing as that which was to be achieved. We are already, and what was achieved was not achieved. It was recognized to be that which is prior to all experience. We are already standing as the goal. These yoga meditations are what my teacher called a post-enlightenment sadhana. It's not even necessary to do them. One could recognize one's true nature and be happy with that recognition. But if we want to take this recognition out into life, not just experience it in the privacy of our hearts, but if we want our relationships to express it, if we want our activities and our environment, our circumstances, if we want the whole realm of our life, all realms of experience to be colonized and permeated by this understanding, then this post-enlightenment sadhana is necessary.